JB here. Hope everyone is doing outstanding. Tuesday, December 30th, 3:36. Really quick rant here. Apologies for this morning. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P slightly in the red. NASDAQ down about a tenth of a percent. The Dow down about a tenth of a percent. And then small caps down a half percent. Yesterday was red. Today's red. We'll see what the last day of the trading year brings tomorrow. But a lackluster session. Similar to yesterday, tight trading range. I think it's a 0.29% trading range so far today. Volumes anemic, I guess the best way to describe it. The last 3.5 sessions have just been pretty boring. Watching paint dry, and probably watching paint dry would be more exciting. The thing is, you want to hopefully find some moves or some opportunities. Uh, Not sure today's the day. Maybe tomorrow I'll look for more opportunities, but it feels like I don't want to be in a position where I keep adding positions and then things don't move, and then we have a flush out day and things get pummeled. So that's kind of in the back of my head. So I'm being a little selective today. Um, on the flip side, there's days where I add positions throughout the week or throughout the month, and then there'll be the harvest day where we have a nice rally and some of the names I'm in go bonkers. Hopefully that is the scenario that plays out over the coming days. But anyway, take a look at the SPY 686, the key spot I was talking about as support, 691 and change. If we get up there, that'll be resistance. And sure enough, again today, right around that 686 handle, we're 687.63 right now in the SPY. Another doji candle, right? They typically a doji candle, the highs and the lows were right in between it. And that signals indecisiveness, right? If you look up what a doji candle is, uh, pretty much what today feels like, right? But to me, consolidation, slow day, chop day. Maybe we get some window dressing tomorrow, hopefully in the green, and then kick off 2026 in style. That would be the ideal setup. We had the Fed minutes. You wouldn't even know we had Fed minutes today unless someone told you, because there was not much in the way of moves. Pretty much as expected, right? Most of the Fed officials are saying that they want to kind of hold tight on cutting rates until they see how the recent cuts are they having an impact? What does that all look like? So, I to me, I mean, this feels like what came into the December's rate cut, right? Before that, the previous couple of weeks, it was like, okay, not going to cut rates. I think at one point it was like 10 or 15% probability the market was given that they were going to cut rates in December, and then sure enough, they went and cut rates. Yeah, I think the first meeting's the end of January, so far at the end of January, and the next meeting after that's in March. Yet I have to think they're going to cut rates, but for now, I think it's actually a good thing that the expectations are low, so it leaves an opportunity for a dovish spin, and it almost is like the market is pricing into hawkishness, right? So it's not going to come out of left field if, for some chance, they don't cut rates. But anyway, that's the overall market. Just quick on individual names. TripAdvisor was melting slowly all morning, right? And I'm just watching it. And then little did I know, and it happened, I guess, at 9:55. I didn't see what the block, but it was a 6,000 block on, why don't I have it here? Boom, boom. Sorry. Yep. 9:59 a.m., a 6,000 contracts went through at 55 cents on the January 2027-25 calls. Trips at 1480. So there's a position 60% out, whatever that is, whatever that percentage is, 65%, with plenty of time, obviously a year and a month's time to expiration. The thing is, the open interest on that strike is already 7,000 contracts. So I don't know if that's some a closing position or what have you, but and I don't even know if that's why the stock is rallying today, but certainly not complaining. So I'm sitting on those January 15s, and the frustrating thing about those January 15s, they haven't moved. And even with the stock going up a couple of days ago, the premiums didn't move, and then when it sells off, the premiums got smushed. So sure enough, today it's rallying. The premiums finally come into the calls, but even with the big 7% move so far, I would think those 15 strikes would be substantially higher in regards to premium, especially with them being 20 cents out of the money. But hopefully, we won't have to be talking about that soon if this rally continues. But sitting here right at the highs as I'm talking, 1481. You know my thoughts on Trip. If you didn't, I'll post the link. I think I posted it earlier today, but I penned a piece last year right around this time. My bull case on TripAdvisor, right? To me, I think it's substantially undervalued. They have three main segments. Their core business obviously was their travels, right? Travel reviews. Um, the most trafficked website, travel website on the planet. I think it's 400 million average views or user views. I forget the exact metric, but in a nutshell, it far exceeds Expedia, Booking, all those different sites. So the big issue, or at least issue I've had, and I think a lot of investors or folks who've been long trip for a while, has been how do they monetize this traffic? They've always struggled, and every earnings you think, okay, this is the time they're going to turn around, and that never really, uh, never happens, right? And then they've acquired some business back in 2014. They got the Viator experience platform company, and then they also got the Fork, and the Fork is just the online reservations for restaurants. In a nutshell, Viator is like experiences, right? Excursions, whatever you want to call them. So those back in 2014, they got them inexpensive, and now those are businesses that are flourishing. You look at the Viator; it's exceeded the core business in regards to its revenues. It's has 15-20% top line growth. That's kind of like been consistent. Same with the Fork, and it's become to the point where the valuation of those companies alone far exceed, in my opinion, the core business. So when you have a company, the stock, let's see what the valuation is right now. The market cap's one. Let's see here. $1.7 billion market cap, and it does $1.9 billion in revenues. And some of the reason I think it's priced down here is the slow growth, right? I mean, its core business is competitive concerns. Then most recently you have, I don't have that up here. But just a lot of concerns. Then you had a holder, right? I think it was Trip Liberty, Trip Holdings had a huge stake in the company, so they kind of, I wouldn't say, blocked or just had constraints on the company in allowing them to do what they want to do. When they had a buyout offer at the end of last year that they had to nix because of Liberty, finally went and bought that stake, that holding. So now they're free to do what they want to do. They have an active stock buyback program. They have plenty of cash on hand. So there's just a lot of different things that they have that I think makes them attractive in regards to this valuation. So I think it's substantially undervalued. And then you have the AI spin. And I haven't really talked about the AI spin, but back at the end, start of last year, they started to do start of this year, excuse me, monetizing some of the data they have, right? So their treasure trove in regards to reviews and just travel as a whole. So when you have all these AI models that are looking to have the best information, what have you, they go out and do licensing deals to make sure they're top of line when it comes to folks looking to get information, right? And that's why I like Reddit. Similarly, you look at Trip, and they already have worked out a partnership or agreement with Perplexity at the start of this year, Microsoft, and then on their most recent conference call, they talked about having partnerships or in the works with deals with all the leading AI names. So what does that mean in regards to revenues? There's not any definite metrics put out on their earnings or their filings, so you don't know exactly what that number is. But to me, I think it bodes well. And if the stock was up substantially from here, if it was trading 5-6 times revenues or things like, then I would say, okay, that's not a big deal. But to me, the stock hasn't done, I think it's down 2% year to date compared to where it opened last year. It hasn't done much, right? So I don't think that's baked in. I don't think a lot of the spin-off possibilities is baked in whatsoever. You have Starboard with that activist stake that they announced back in the spring. There's just a lot of different things that have happened. I think positive, that would be positive stock, and the stock's still down here. And I think also some of it is the short interest. So back in May, there was 9 million shares sold short. Now it's over 20 million. So the short interest has went from under 10% to it was 22%. I think it just dropped down to 21%. So anyway, we're not going to go too much further in a rant here. I can go on for a little longer. But I like the story here. Finally, the January 15 strikes are close to a double. I was looking to either get February, wait to close the Januaries out and get some Februaries or get some March strikes. But to me, I'm like, if there's a gap and go tomorrow, I don't want to be in a spot where I'm trying to chase. So I'm trying at some point. Hopefully, I'll get filled on closing some of the January 15s for a double. They're close to a double. Let's see. Did I get? No, not. They're still 40 by 45. And then, I was looking to get February strikes. I'm like, let me just go a little more expensive and go out to the March strikes. So gives me some time. I think if you look at the chart, the risk reward in regards to where it could fall, does it fall back down to $14? If it does, the premium should hold up in the March strikes. That was the premise getting those. And then, like I always do, as it continues to rally, I'll look to close some of the calls out on the way up. Obviously, the January's first, so on and so forth. So that's Trip. Not going to go too much on a rant there. Serve Robotics got some more strikes this morning. Finally, I posted a link. Dan Ives was on CNBC Fast Money yesterday evening, and it wasn't, he didn't go in depth on Serve, but just gave it like a shout out, I guess you would say. But to me, Serve is not one of those mainstream names. People don't know about it. They don't know the story. And a lot of folks who do know the story, it's because they saw them as they were walking the neighborhood, right? And say, what is that? Um, there's a lot of different possible addressable markets that can be added to Serve Robotics outside of just the last mile delivery of food. You have the possibility of, and I've talked about this before in regards to the ability for them to get to a location for drones and to have a little opens up a whole new market for Serve as opposed to just being able to get to the close locations, right? You have one of those little hubs where you have drones that can take meals and whatever, whether it's just general merchandise from the CVSs, the pharmacies, or the 7-Elevens, and take those the next mile. So there's a lot I like on Serve Robotics. I mean, the advertising side too. I mean, slapping on some advertising on the side of their bots that are walking around the city. I mean, like a taxi, right? New York City taxi with the ads on. Anyway, love Serve. 975 was a big spot on the way down. Held that yesterday. I would love to have seen a gap and go today. It was all the way up near 1050 earlier. It's down here at 1010. Like this, 1375 the next spot. So I added some more of those. And then Reddit. Reddit disappointing at the open all the way up to 236. Gave it all back in about 15 minutes. Down to 230. Then back up to 236 by the noon hour. And it's been chopping around ever since. Frustrating. Hopefully, I'm going to need it to really gap and go tomorrow. Won't take much. And we've seen what's happened in the past on Reddit. So Friday will be the day I'll add some more strikes on Reddit. I'm trying to think of some of the other names here. I mean, take a look at the VIX today. It's 1413, the VIX right now. Pretty much flat as a pancake. It's been doing that all day. Even when we've had some pulls, the VIX kind of just been standing pat. Other names I'm watching, I keep watching Oracle for some kind of move into the 200s, and it seems like every time it wants to break out, 198, it gets up there and it just fades. So it's just killing premiums. I had the 210s that I kind of shouted out yesterday. They were 51 by 55. And then I'm like, okay, those are 11 by 12 cents. Then I was the 205s when I was on the rant. Those are 51 by 52. Now those are 37 by 39. So all the last 2 days, it's been about premium crush. So I talked about it pretty much. I think the exact time yesterday when I was doing a rant, I probably said about 20 times about not taking on trades. It's just sometimes it's so tempting to try and just overtrade to force something just because, and then it just makes a day that's been boring frustrating as well. So just continue to be selective, and then maybe tomorrow we get a harvest day. My favorite days of the year is when we get a harvest day. All right, have a great day, folks. I'll be back. Rock and roll.